Hi again folks, how's all doing? So welcome to part 2 of my Oxford Rail Adams Radial locomotive repair. In part 1 I converted this to DC because the socket's done. So that worked okay. The front bogie was derailing. I've stabilised that with some washers, that seems to be okay. Adjusted the rear wheels a bit so they're making better contact with the track. But, you know, it was running very slow and it seemed to be getting slower and slower. So there's clearly something up with it. So what I'm going to do is take this motor out and get into this gearbox. I want to see what state the gears are in. I mean, they're maybe all gunked up, but you know, when you turn that flywheel, there isn't really any resistance there. The armature is a 5-pole skew wound. Looks to be in perfectly good condition. It looks like it clips in at the back there and there. I think this plastic cover here just unclips. Yep. Okay. This actually holds the wires in place. Get them out of there. And that should then come off, I think. There we go. So that's exposed the worm gear, which is held in place by 2 bearings there and there. Again, I'm not seeing anything untoward. Mind you, this lubrication in here is really sticky. Right, let's see if we can get the motor out. I think it just pulls out. Like that, and then I think the worm gear will probably just lift out. Like so. Just out of interest, let's get this on the track now that the motor's disengaged. Yeah, it's a wee bit stiff. You know, that's not freewheeling at all. There's no sticky point, but it's yeah. Right, okay. So that's a possible issue. You know, if this isn't a very powerful motor, that would certainly slow it down. Right, let's see if this motor spins. Yeah, that whizzes away fine. So that's good that the motor spins okay. Is it a case that we've just got too much gunk in the gears and the axles? I think we'll take this plate out. That should allow me to get the motor out the way altogether. I'm going to have to take this off again. There we go. So now get the motor out the road. You maybe didn't see this in part 1, but you can see the contacts there that connect to the pickups. What I think we'll do is get a look into the axles as well. Oh, right, okay. Didn't realise that these popped out, these little contacts. that out. Yeah, there's a lot of gunky, sticky lubricant in there. I mean, it really is quite thick and gooey. It's like earwax almost. Right, okay. And it's the same thing going on here. Yep. I don't know what lubricant Oxford Rail have used, but I don't like it. It's way too thick. Right, we'll give this a scoosh with a contact cleaner. I'm just going to put my hand over it because it'll squirt everywhere. I'll turn this over. I'll give it a good scoosh down here as well. Lift that out. That's the lubricant. It's horrible stuff. I think that's a lot better. Just put this on the track just to see if it's freed up any. Right, let's see. Well, there we go. That's how it should be. That's way better. Okay, fingers crossed. That's all the problem's been. It's just a horrible, thick, gooey, waxy lubricant that's just seized the thing up. You know, I think this little motor doesn't have an awful lot of torque, and I think it's just been under too much load. So, I think we'll clean this up a bit more. So we'll let that contact cleaner evaporate off, and hopefully that solved the problem. This is all full of that sticky, waxy stuff as well. Where else have we got it? Let's have a look at the worm gear. Give this a good blast as well. Right, be careful because that bearing comes off and it's got a little plastic washer on it. And we'll get all that waxy stuff out of here as well. May as well give the pickups a bit of a clean while I'm at it. You know, with an older model I would have stripped it out anyway, but I didn't think this was old enough to really warrant a service like this. But thanks to Oxford Rail earwax lubrication, this is what I'm having to do. I'll get some oil onto the axles, not grease, oil. Maybe put a wee touch of silicone grease onto the gears there. And we'll pop this back on. There's still some gunk down in there. Get the cocktail sticking. Look at that. Get some silicone grease in there. It's much better stuff to use. Okie dokie. Right. We'll pop these little contacts back in place. And we can start to put this back together. Go in there. I'm going to get some oil between the worm gear and that bearing there. It'll pop in there. Then it should just clip into place. Like so. It's quite easy. Bit more silicone grease on the worm gear. Clip that in place. Swap these wires. Right, has that made a difference? Is it going to run any faster? Ooh. I think it does. Oh, it's looking good. Just put this whole DCC socket back in place just to keep the wires tidy. Okie dokie. Right, I think before we put the body on, I think we'll give it a little test run on the layout. Right, okay, let's see what it does. Full power. Well, that's an awful lot faster than it was. So there we are, that's running so much better. We'll get the body on and we'll get this back onto the layout. Okay, I think we're done now. Let's go and pull this out of the shed again. Okay, out she comes again. Okay, well, so that was quite interesting and turned out to be a bit of a bigger job than I was anticipating. But yeah, it's always interesting to work on a model I've not worked on before, especially from a manufacturer I've not worked on before. So yeah, interesting. But really quite surprised to see how badly gunked up this was with that old dry congealed grease. I don't know if that's the grease that Oxford Rail put in there. I suspect it probably is. Maybe someone's put it in, but I think that's probably the original lubricant. You really don't want to be putting grease like that on your axles in particular. Uh, yeah, not very good. I would say if you've got an Oxford Rail loco and it starts to run slow, get it serviced and get that grease out of there. So yeah, this was a non-runner because the DCC socket was damaged. I think it's probably had a decoder fitted to it at some point, and that's blown, and it's damaged the socket. Maybe not. It's maybe just blown of its own accord. I don't know. But Anthony's a DC guy, so he's quite happy for me just to wire this up to run on DC only and just bypass that socket altogether. And that sorted that problem. But then I discovered the front bogie was derailing, the rear wheels weren't touching the track properly. So yeah, some little washers fixed the front bogie problem. Ideally, I think a spring would be an idea, a spring with a washer top and bottom, but I didn't have any springs to hand, so just some washers. You just need to stabilise it, just stop it moving about so much, and it's done the trick. And the rear wheel, I just backed off the underplate screws a little bit to lower the wheels down. The rear wheels are actually sprung loaded, so really shouldn't have this issue. I put a little bit of thread lock on the screws to make sure they don't work loose while the locomotive's running. You don't want that to happen. So yeah, I mean, when I saw this thing was running slow, at first I thought, well, it is advertised as being geared to run at a slow and prototypical speed, it says. So I thought, well, maybe it is just meant to be that slow, but as soon as it started getting slower, no, that wasn't right. So yeah, strip it down, clean it out, and it's done the trick. It wouldn't really be fair of me to give an opinion on Oxford Rail models just on the basis of this one model. I mean, if this came out of the box like that with its front bogie problems and the rear wheels not touching the track, that's just bad quality control and a lack of testing. Get the fundamentals right, guys. That's just not acceptable, really. But aside from that, I think it's a nice little model, and it seems quite nicely put together, nicely detailed. I don't think it's any better or worse than Hornbier Bachmann, to be honest. So would I buy an Oxford Rail locomotive? Yeah, I think I probably would. Maybe not brand new, but I would certainly be happy to pick one up used. The J27 looks quite nice, so who knows? I have read that traction is an issue with these. I personally didn't see any traction problems. It was pulling my 3 mainline coaches there, no bother at all, and they're quite draggy because they've got the original wheels on them, so this handled them fine. So I didn't see a traction issue. So yeah, nice model. Just iffy quality control and earwax for lubrication. Right, okay, I'm going to get this packed up and sent back to Anthony, and we'll see what's next. We'll catch you later.